Welcome back. Thanks for joining me on my MMA news. David McKinney, and I'm joined by Bobby Houston. We have a problem, which I think is maybe my favorite MMA nickname. Main event on December 3rd at Made Men Promotions, live cage fights at Penguin City Brewing in Youngstown, Ohio. So first off, man, thanks for joining me.
Hey, you got it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So you are the main event of an event in your hometown, Youngstown, Ohio, on December 3rd. So, and also for a title fight, you fight Taiwan Stills. What's it feel like to come to an event like this? And a be the main event, but also get an opportunity to fight for a title.
Yeah, it happened a little faster than I thought it was going to happen. I actually started fighting MMA in 2020, 2017, I believe. That was my first fight. And then I had three fights. I went 2-1. I joined the Army shortly after I lost my third fight. Trained the whole time I was in the Army. And when I got back from the Army, I decided to pick up fighting again. There was really no time for it while I was in the military. And it feels good to be fighting for a main event and a title, especially in my hometown. I am from Youngstown as well.
Yeah, so I noticed that you had a little bit of a break there, a 4 year break, and I did see that you joined the military. So what did you do in the army?
It was air defense, 14 Echo Patriot missile system, if you ever heard of it.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, that's awesome. So, is that like your family history of being in the military, or what was the motivation to join the military?
I've always wanted to join the military since I was younger. But my dad was in the Marine Corps. My grandpa was in the Marine Corps. So I come from a Marine Corps background, but I decided to join the Army because the Army was throwing me a better enlistment bonus.
Fair enough. Yeah, they're fighting over you, which I think is always a good place to be in. But yeah, man. So I know that you said you're fighting in the main event, and you're fighting the Taiwan Stills, who as a guy who's been around. I've actually called a couple of his fights, and he's a really interesting. You guys are fighting at 205 pounds, and he spent most of his career at 185. But he's a very tall, lanky guy,
Yep.
and coming up to 205. How do you feel about the matchup against Taiwan?
I think it's a good matchup. I'm 3-1. There's really no more picking and choosing fights. I got to fight whoever they give me, and I think it's a good matchup. And I'm gonna go in there and fight my ass off.
So at the event, I'm actually when I saw that it was going to happen, I was like, I'm definitely going to that event. It's at Penguin City Brewery in right in downtown Youngstown, and I'm excited because not only do I cover MMA, I also cover craft beer, and an MMA event at a craft brewery is like right up my alley.
Yeah, it's
How about
awesome.
how about you? Are
Doesn't
you
get
are
much
you
better for a fan.
are you a craft beer drinker? Have you been to Penguin City before? I know
Oh, I
probably
like
not.
beer. I
Probably
like
not
beer a
leading
little
up to
too
the
much.
fight, which is why you're, you got to stay at 205, right?
Well, we'll get down to 185. We'll get down there. We'll get down there sooner or later.
But do you know much about Penguin City, about the brewery, and kind of the history and
Um,
what they've done, or
yeah. So Penguin City was not around when I joined the Army. So when I got out of the Army, that beer is everywhere around here now. That beer is in every convenience store around here. It's everywhere. So that was I'm not sure when they started that, but when I got out of the Army, that was a thing everywhere. So now you see Penguin City beer everywhere around in this town at least, and it's a big massive um, brewery right in the middle of downtown Youngstown, and about 5 minutes away from the brewery, there's also it's downtown Youngstown. They got all kinds of bars down there as well, so it's a good spot.
yeah, I'm excited, man. I lived in Pittsburgh for a couple years, and I spent a little bit of time in Youngstown, but I've never really spent a good amount of time. So I'm excited. I'm gonna go there and do a podcast with the folks from Penguin City, and I know that they've done some great things for the craft beer scene. And I actually got their beer the first time through one of my sponsors on my other podcast, Rivalry Brews. and so they're not only having beer in the Youngstown area, but also all over Ohio, and they ship beer all over the country. So it's
Yeah.
awesome to see a local brewery getting exposure and distribution outside of Ohio and outside of the Youngstown area. So I know, are you still training at Campbell Martial Arts up there? Is that your gym still?
Yes, yes, that's my gym. I was training there in at Monarch Brazilian Jiu Jitsu before I joined the army. Um, Monarch Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is no longer a thing. Now they're Tent Planet. I did train at Tent Planet a little bit as well, but Team CMA is my home gym. Yes.
Gotcha. Is Andy Belke still up there in that crew?
Yep. Yep. That's the same guys.
Yeah, they've been around forever, and
Oh yeah.
I've covered MMA in Ohio since like 2010, I think, and yeah, anytime that there's an event up there, they definitely send a crew. So is it just you on the card, or do you have teammates fighting?
My teammate Sean Dunnan is also on the card, and he's very good, very good.
Yeah, yeah. Sean was a guy. I saw he was on the card, and I'm like, man, that's a name I hadn't heard in a in a long time. But I remember him fighting. I think he fought back for NWFS back in the day, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he's another guy who's been around for a while. He fights. I don't know if that's technically the co-main event, but he fights as well.
Norm.
Yeah,
I
Norm
forget what the guy's
Carrero.
last name is. Norm.
Yeah, Norm Carrero is who he's fighting. Yeah, I actually called his fight at a Cage Madness event. That's where I saw him, and then he fought for Iron Tiger. So yeah, his first fight in 3.5 years, it looks like. So he's kind of doing what you did,
Yeah, we're both.
taking.
Yeah, we're both on the roll back. COVID had a lot to do with that too. You know, COVID shut down a lot of fighters. It shut down a lot of these guys that they couldn't fight. COVID hit, they couldn't fight.
Um, yeah, so I think it is awesome to see fights really start to come back, and I did a couple of events during the height of COVID, and it was definitely different and kind of odd. And I did an event in Pittsburgh where there were no fans, but I know you're gonna have plenty of fans. It sounds like you're bringing a pretty big crowd. The event, and I talked to the matchmaker Nicole. She kind of compared this to like a club show. Like I know it's a even though it's a big building, it still is a fairly small venue for an MMA event. How do you feel about fighting in like kind of that really, I guess it's going to be like a pretty close, intimate atmosphere?
That sounds good to me. um, sounds good to me. Good.
Awesome. Yeah. I love, shows. That's one of the things I love about local MMA is, you get like I went to an event in Mansfield a couple of weeks ago, and it's a pretty small venue, and it's this metal building, and it's loud and people go crazy, and you're like, man, just the electric energy and the atmosphere. And I know that you fought at in Yankee Lake at least once, maybe twice, which is a very similar,
Twice. Yep, twice.
yeah, very similar venue, small venue, and the fans just go absolutely crazy there, and that's
Small, rowdy, packed.
like
um, Most of the fans are drunk.
yeah,
Small,
well,
rowdy, packed, drunk.
I mean, you can definitely expect at a brewery, you're gonna have some people drinking, uh, a couple of
Oh yeah.
a couple or a few, and I might even have a couple. I normally am I try to stay away from the beer when I'm media member, but if you're at a brewery, right, you gotta indulge. And I know that after you, hopefully, I know you're hoping to get the win, but win or lose, right, you gotta have a beer after the fight.
Win or lose, I'm gonna make my friends happy and have a couple with them.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. I always give everybody the opportunity to, shout out sponsors, any supporters, anything like that. So the stage is yours.
Yeah. Shout out to my home gym, Camel Martial Arts. We are growing at a rapid rate, and we are turning into a force to be reckoned with in this area. I also got a shout out to 10th Planet. Those guys helped me out over there. They're very good at 10th Planet Massery. And then I want to shout out to a gym I was training at down in Texas, in El Paso, Briggs Martial Arts Academy. I want to shout out Professor Briggs
Oh yeah.
for helping me out while I was in the military.
Yeah, actually, I've seen a little bit about them. I know that they have a bunch of guys that fight in Texas and also New Mexico and a little bit in
Yeah,
Colorado. And
yeah.
yeah, I've definitely seen that name before. So yeah, they seem to win a lot more than they lose, which is always a good sign of a gym, right?
Oh yeah, Professor Briggs is very good. He's under Eric Paulson. So
Oh yeah,
Professor Briggs is very good.
yeah, the old
Oh yeah,
catch wrestling, right?
teammates. Shout out to my teammates as well. Professor Briggs, my teammates. Thank you guys.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. December 3rd, if you are in or anywhere near the Youngstown area. I don't think there's a live stream for this event, but you got to be there. I always say local MMA, you have to be there. The electricity and the energy. If you've never been to a local MMA show, no matter whether you're in the Youngstown area, Ohio, get out to a show. There's a lot of events in the cold months. It seems like usually all around the country. This is when MMA, like it's really the MMA season.
Yeah, yeah.
And, tons of fights. So make sure you get out if you are in Youngstown December 3rd to Made Men Promotions live cage fights at Penguin City Brewing. The main event is going to be Bobby Houston taking on Taiwan Stills for the 205-pound title. And I'm looking forward to that fight. I've had this circled on my calendar for a long time. So thank you very much for joining me, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, David. Thank you for having me. Look forward to
Yeah,
meeting you.
yeah. Best of luck, man.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good night.
You too.